Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very exciting webinar from FinBox, where we are going to discuss the agricultural space and the agri-tech opportunity, especially from the credit perspective, for the first time on this in this series of webinars. Today, we have a very glittering panel who has joined us and to discuss this space. So we have Mr. Sundar Singh, who is the co-founder of DeHaat. We also have Hitesh Joshi, who heads initiatives at FinTech initiatives at AgroStar. We also have Sruthi Soundararajan, who leads business finance and strategy at Nurture.farm. Also from FinBox and is Naman Pethankar, who heads our business development and strategic alliances initiatives. So welcome everyone on the panel and welcome everyone who's watching this. Before I come to you guys for your insights, I would like to just spend 2 minutes trying to give a brief lay of the land for everyone watching and trying to also just make sure everyone kind of knows what we are trying to talk about. So we all know that agricultural sector has been a big pillar of India's economic strength and growth for many decades now, and this sector not only contributes a large chunk of our GDP but also helps employ a lot more people than any other sector probably. So it's only kind of fair that the gains of digitization and modernization reach the farms and out from the technology parks and centers where we all tend to usually work out of. And this can actually have massive impact across crop quality, production, productivity, as well as overall returns for the end farmer. So it's not that the farmer is the only stakeholder in the space. The agri value chain is very complex, and there are multiple moving parts. There are supply chain companies, there are platforms which bring farmer together, there are advisories, and now there are a bunch of new tech companies like yourselves who are solving these problems very holistically. So the idea that I have today is to get a sense of what are the different kind of products and the different kind of initiatives you guys are running to kind of solve the most thorny issues of agricultural financing, and also give a little bit of an insight to those listening about how should they go about thinking about agricultural credit and how this problem can be actually be turned into an opportunity. So with this context, I would like first to have an introduction from Shruti, and if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and the company and how you are looking at this space.
Sure. Hi everyone. Very excited to be part of this panel. My name is Shruthi Soundararajan. I lead business finance and operations strategy at Nurture Farm. Nurture Farm is a company based in Bangalore, been around for about 2.5 years. We're a subsidiary of UPL Limited, an agrochemical giant in India. So Nurture Farm was established with the view of creating two goals, right? One was around creating resilience for farmers end to end, and the second was around creating sustainability in the agriculture space as well. The reason we want to layer these two is sustainability ends up playing a really important role from an overall food security perspective globally. I'm sure we're all reading all the threats around climate change that are coming, which are coming to us much faster than expected as well. So, given that food security overall is a threat, we've set out to kind of help farmers and the ag ecosystem space establish the right kind of solutions enabled through technology, basically ranging right from pre-sowing and thinking about what the farmer should actually plant in their fields to post-harvest solutions. So basically an end-to-end cycle for the entire crop. We've been, we have like over 2 million farmers on our platform and 100,000 retailers. The reason we partner with multiple different players in the ag ecosystem is we understand that agriculture has been around for so many years. The farmers are obviously the experts at it. It's our job to bring technology, data, the right kind of support to different players in this ecosystem in a way that it cascades across the board. Around financing, just like financing is important in any industry, agriculture is no different. I think it's really nice to see that in the recent years, RBI has also helped regulate this field a lot with NBFCs, MFIs. We're also looking at, bringing new kinds of solution to solve for farmers and other ag players across the ecosystem. But look forward to hearing from everybody else and really looking for the next hour.
That's super exciting, Shruti. Thank you so much for that intro. Shyam, will come to you next.
Thanks, Mayank, and thanks, FinBox. I think it's actually good to see you arranging three of us who have similar kind of mindset, right? Having a farmer focus, right? So, hi everyone. I am one of the co-founders of DeHaat. We have been around for a decade now. 360-degree platform to provide end-to-end agricultural products and services to Indian farmers. Currently, we are working across 11 states, roughly around 150 districts, where we have more than 11,000 channel partners, right? The idea had always been to provide that last mile one-stop platform for farmers for whatever they need in their agricultural life cycle, right? Right from agri inputs to agri output to services to say livestock related challenges or hardware related challenges, right? So that's what they have been doing. Looking forward to actually see having this conversation over here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Also, congrats, Sham, for the 60 million fundraise. DeHaat has just raised 60 million guys in Series E funding, and the company's been growing cent to cent. So, very excited to see what DeHaat brings next on the table. So, congratulations, Sham.
Thank you.
Next, we'll come to Hitesh. Hitesh leads the FinTech initiatives at AgroStar and has been kind of a very big pillar in the FinTech space when it comes to agri-financing. So, Hitesh, would love to know what you are excited about.
Awesome. First of all, thank you, Mayank, Naman, and entire FinBox team for setting up this event and getting this panel together. I guess that there had been a lot of talks around the agri fintech and probably farmer financing per se in a long past. However, there is still a lot of challenges and a lot of topics that we, as an ecosystem player, need to come together and discuss about. About me, so I lead fintech initiatives and the financing activities at AgroStar. AgroStar is again a decade-old agri-tech company, which initially started with providing advisory services to the farmers, then selling agri inputs, and now we are a full-stack agri-tech company right now. Again, the core mission with which the AgroStar comes in is around helping farmer win. So all the activities or all the actions or all the steps that AgroStar has taken in the last 10, 11 years was always focused towards like helping farmer win at the last leg. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us, Hitesh. Coming to Naman. Naman, could you tell us what you do and what FinBox does in this entire scene?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mayank, for putting this together. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Like, this is fantastic to have all three of you together here. Like Shyam said, like it is going to be very, very interesting in terms of what we can actually take out of this session today. FinBox is a credit infrastructure and risk intelligence company. We've been around for 5+ years now. So it's very heartening to see that startups today, we are talking in terms of decades and half decades now. And it is that much effort it takes for us to really, find the right kind of problems to solve at scale. FinBox works primarily with lenders and digital platforms like all three of you as you're championing them. We help platforms and lenders launch 0 to 1 NC2 credit programs as well as scale new credit products on very interesting demographies. Our intelligence products help people drive financial inclusion by enabling underserved and new to bank kind of customers. Our infrastructure enables lenders to be able to lend on new platforms as newer and newer platforms are gathering very interesting demographies on their platforms. Like, if we talk about DeHaat, nurture.farm and AgroStar, the kind of people you have brought in together for a lender to reach to those kind of segments, en masse is, previously unheard of. So we are helping both platforms as well as lenders to run these credit programs and scale them really, really fast. And really excited about what we can actually converse today and see how more meaningfully, let's say FinBox and our limited capacity and as an ecosystem we can drive this forward. So look forward to this conversation, guys. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. I think since you mentioned a lot about trade programs and how we are helping them launch, I would love to first go to each of you and understand a little bit about the kind of programs that you have run, that you are running to solve that, specifically the credit problem in this space, and exactly what part of this value chain that you are kind of focusing on, and also a second part of this question is what are the products that you are kind of most excited about developing or innovating or building in the coming few months or quarters or years. So could we start with you, Shyam, on this?
Sure. So credit is that kind of a glue which binds everything in any sector, especially in agri, right? From inputs to markets, right? Credit is the common factor. Uh, Definitely, when we have started looking at it, right? We started looking at it from agri output perspective first, right? Trying to work with local aggregators and MSME buyers on how we can facilitate credit for them. For the last couple of years, we have been working with our channel partners, DeHaat centers, for facilitating credit for them, which is very exciting because when you asked, what's the most exciting part right now, right? So enabling credit within the value chain, right? Sometimes or most of the times unblock a lot of opportunities, right, for everyone. So that is one part, and on the other part, the enabler there is that they are more digitally savvy, right? So it is relatively easier for us to actually intervene over there. Right? So that is one part. We are also at a very early stage piloting with farmer financing, right? Where we can look at what are the different opportunities or what can be different kinds of credit products suitable for different segments of farmers, right? So we'll talk about that later, but in a nutshell, these are some of the opportunities that we are currently pursuing. We can also see additional opportunities in this sector, right? So, for example, a lot of vendors and suppliers, right? They also need credit in this kind of ecosystem, and that's where we are also thinking what can be best products that we can have, right? Considering our positioning, I will give you an example that for example, say the kind of ecosystem that we work in. Say for example, in Madhya Pradesh, we buy soya. We provide soya seeds to farmers, and then we buy soya from them and supply to, say, a soya processor, right? Soya processor, one of the key byproducts that they have, right, is basically DOC. That DOC goes to a maize processor who manufactures cattle feed. And then we also again buy cattle feed and supply to our farmers network, right? So we are talking about a credit ecosystem which can work in the entire cycle of this, right? And that's the future that I would be looking at. That's the direction that we are taking in terms of what we are trying to build.
Excellent, excellent. This is Shyam. I especially love how you are capturing the entire value chain and going after products and then products out right out of the products. So that is pretty exciting. So I will come to Shruti next. Shruti, what about you and what about the nurture farm perspective on the credit space, and how do you guys think about it in terms of how different it is from mainstream credit, right? Like what other credit products that we know and use versus the agri credit space? How do you think is largely very different?
Yeah. So, just building on from what Sham said, I think, what you said at the start was spot on in terms of credit being the glue that binds everything together, and specifically in agri, because if you think about the farmer's access to credit, right, it's limited. And think about the need for it. Farmers are putting in effectively all of their funds, taking all of this risk season on season, and to enable that they're going to have to need some working capital. If you think about the farming life cycle, it's 4 to 5 months. They're only getting something at the end of that. So to kind of ensure that this entire cycle, of which the farmer is at the center, moves smoothly, you need credit at every stage. At Nurture, we've sort of started credit programs about a year ago, and they're going quite well because we're seeing good adoption across. We've started with a B2B credit program in partnership with a couple of other companies where we're able to connect. So Nurture is actually a marketplace. We don't own any inventory, right? But we do want to facilitate the same benefits that an ag input retailer would get should he go to the open market. We want to ensure that we're providing organized credit for this. So, given that we've created a credit solution where retailers are able to get credit by getting credit through this third party solution, they're also able to pass this on to farmers and sort of bridge that gap. We are seeing a lot of positive adoption. The benefits of it is that they're able to access this easily. They're able to access it at a much cheaper rate. It's actually transparent to them what the rate is, because for now distributors actually mask the cost of credit within the price of the product itself. Right here they're able to see, and because these are structured in different ways of per day and so on, it's really in their in interest. They're able to plan better and actually repay quickly. And I'm sure the partners that we work with will also echo the same. We felt that initially we were also very concerned about the repayment and the ability to repay, but I think that's it's been established as it's totally there. There's just no the concept of intent to repay, which is one of the three pillars for credit, doesn't exist, right? There is an intent. I think there are some unforeseen circumstances which come in terms of weather and things that cannot be controlled, but everything else there is so much of an intent. We're actually not seeing any delayed repayments or defaults as such, which is really endearing in terms of bringing this ecosystem. Because this is so new, we're now able to, these lending partners are actually able to access other partners, some of whom are on this call as well, to grow this business. And it's better, right? Because the further you reach, the deeper into the ecosystem you go. In terms of what's going to be exciting, I think for us, similar to what Sham said, I think building that entire bridge is going to be really critical. We've started off with the B2B space in terms of smaller retailers. I think getting it to the farmer level and giving them access to credit in a much more reasonable manner becomes critical. So right now, banks and things, of course, offer credit, but then they come with a whole bunch of, terms and conditions, so to speak. How do you eliminate that? Like, instead, if you looked at a farming household like as one unit, and you are able to facilitate credit by looking at all of their transactions. Like, don't look at each transaction in the ag cycle as a single one, right? Look at it in entirety, and then you'll be able to bridge that. So if you're able to give credit to someone who's following the right practices, using the right products, the chances are that their yield will be much better and hence be able to repay. So if you're able to layer in all these different factors, I think that becomes really exciting. And we'll talk more about how we can bring all of this data together and make it more useful.
That's very insightful, Shruti. And with that, I would love to go to Hitesh and get his thoughts on what do you think, Hitesh, is the complex or the challenging or the interesting part about agri lending as compared to mainstream lending, and what are the kind of products that you are building and launching?
Sure. Again, I would probably echo the same statement which Shyam and Shruti made, probably with a different term, rather than glue or grease, which smoothens the process of the trade and communication which happens at each leg of the supply chain or value chain. At AgroStar, again, like everything which is in and around farmers, we are trying to solve for it. So everything. So from the first layer of products that we started building was around retailer, the B2B channel partners that we have in place. The primary challenge was to get them adapted to a digital product, and then probably tweaking the product based on the convenience that they can ensure, which would not impact the retailers' financial history. For example, they have been habitual of a standard product, which probably is invoice repayments. Agri as a space has always been very diligent in terms of making payments. It is just that since it's a seasonal business, there have been delays. So every time I go out and talk to people, one thing which I say is that payment is assured. You'll get 99% of payments from probably retailers or farmers. There would be a change in the repayment pattern. There would be a change in the duration in which the customer repays. And that is what we have to adapt to. That is what we have to build upon. So we started building products for retailers. They are doing fantastic. Again, like another stakeholders for the platform. So we have a lot of vendors who have been supplying a lot of materials to us, and it empowers them if they get timely money or advance money or before time money. So we are running a set of supply chain financing programs with them. They scaled up pretty well, pretty fast, and pretty fantastically. And the last leg, and the most critical one, which is the farmers. So for farmers, I guess this would be probably my third or fourth pilot that we have done with them. Again, the statement remains same. Money is not a challenge. We were always able to recover the money. It is the cost of collection that we have to put into. So we are trying to figure out the right product which would solve for it, right set of solutions, or I mean, the broader idea is to solve for the intent of or to solve for the problem that a farmer faces. Is it exactly the need of credit, or is it the need of convenience at times? So clubbing all those things, we are experimenting a set of products, and probably soon we'll have some of them going to a larger scale.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Hitesh, I would like to just double click on what you said about that collecting has not been an issue and that repayments have been like fairly easy for you. Would like to understand a little bit more about do you if you think there is some kind of a platform play at a platform thing also at play here, that platforms like yours are maybe able to like aggregate these things better and give more assurance to lenders, because lenders issues are always around this, that how will the repayment come if this is off season and all of this. So how do you think this problem can be solved, like in fact forget repayments, about underwriting at first? How are these things can be, how are farmers and farming supply chain players can be underwritten better?
Thank you, Mayank, for double clicking on this one. Like this is one of my favorite topic to discuss upon. I mean, platforms like AgriStar, DeHaat, and Nurture, or for that matter, a lot of people who are working into agri or agri-allied technological solutions. One of the key strengths that everyone brings in is data, for sure. So we work with a lot of people, a lot of farmers. For example, if I talk about AgroStar, we provide advisory services to close to 5 million farmers, or we transact with close to 1 million farmers. Now that brings in a lot of data for us to evaluate upon. Each transaction comes with like 5 or 10 different data points, like who's buying, where is he buying from, what is he buying, what quality of product he's buying. And all those things helps you define the kind of farmer he or she is. For example, the better quality of agri input buyer would be a more prominent or more educated farmer. He would have an understanding around like where to invest at what point of time. So this is one thing for sure. Like data is what all the platform brings in together. Apart from data, the platform works with a lot of ground level strength. So, for example, if we talk about credit or if we talk about financing, none of the platforms, or probably a lot of lenders, do not have the strength and muscles of getting the collections done. You are not present everywhere. You cannot go to tier 4, tier 5, tier 6 levels of towns, cities, and villages. And the platform works with a lot of channel partners down the line. So all the retailers, all of us are working with, they are the people who have a lot of muscle. They are the people who have a lot of intelligence about the farmer, about the demography, about the geography, about how the particular set of region has performed in the last 1, 2, 3, 5 years. Now, these muscles and strength, along with the data that the platform brings in, gives a significant comfort to the lenders or the people who are looking forward to participate, like banks. So this is like the broad context around like how exactly the platform like us could do it. Apart from it, over the past few years, there had been huge development about from a lot of other ecosystem players who are trying to build a seamless credit ecosystem for the farmers. To set up a few examples, let's say CIBIL has come up with CCFR, which is CIBIL Credit and Farm Report, which is a combination of CIBIL and SATSUR's information around like what all things has happened on those farms. There are a couple of other companies who have built farm reports. There's MasterCard's, I guess, Farm Pass initiative. So a lot of other ecosystem players are also trying to build the same layer around it. And eventually, with all these things coming in together with the leverage which RBI is providing towards the farmer or farming community, I guess things would be way stronger and smoother going forward.
Excellent. I think data is really the key to mine all this gold. I think
Yes, yes.
Great. I think Shyam, you also have. I'm pretty sure you also have very strong thoughts about this, and we have spoken online, Shyam and Shyam has always been a proponent of usage-based credit, and how do you build like a visibility, data visible pipeline to ensure credit moves through the value chain very smoothly. Shyam, could you elaborate on that, and how does that an ideal product look like in that shape and form? Shyam, you're on mute, please.
Sorry, yes. So I think there are a couple of principles that all of us think around the same themes, right? And something that at DeHaat we are trying to follow is, of course, data is there, right? With proliferation of technology, a lot of things are relatively easier now. An ideal product in Indian agri ecosystem. So we all understand this fact that agri, and you said that right in the intro itself, and which was nice to hear that agri is a complex value chain. Agri value chains are very complex, right? So it's not just complex; it's also highly segmented, right? There are so many different segments, right? And hence the requirements, the needs are very different, right? The kind of agroclimatic zones and number of crops and the land holding profiles and everything that India has in different parts of the country. Uh, so needs are very different, and hence there is. I can't think of a ideal single credit product, but essentially credit products need to be customized heavily, right? At farmers level, at farm level, right? At the requirements level. So I think one is to work towards customization, to offer credit on the merit of it, right? Um, Linking it with the actual usage of it, right? And then the second factor of that is actually around the convergence part of it, right? So one is convergence definitely around the value chain itself, but more importantly, convergence around different other agricultural activities, right? So if I am providing credit for, say, agri inputs, right? Say for seeds, right? Can I take into account the activities which will happen during, say, cultivation phase, during harvesting, even for, say, cattle feed, right? Even for machinery. And can I link all of these together when I'm building a product and when I'm ensuring that there is a processing around it, right? Three very principles of credit, right? That how would you manage cost of risk, how would you manage cost of processing, and how would you manage, say, cost of money itself, right? Which is interest rate. So all of these three things, there is a better control, right? If there is a convergence around the entire agri value chain. Right? So that is the second factor. The third is, and third factor is also that a lot of these credit products need to be income linked also, right? Cash flow, farmers cash flow linked. If we are talking about credit for farmers, right? Similarly, if we are talking about credit for, say, retailers, agri input retailers, then that time also, that's something that we need to keep that in mind, that it has to link with their income, their cash flows, and everything, right? So these are some of the things that I guess, and these are the directions also that we are taking in this sector, right? Where a lot of new products that all of us are innovating are essentially towards that factor, right? I'll give you an example, right? There is a general trend to offer credit along with insurance, right? Now, a lot of innovation is happening towards how we can offer better crop insurance product to farmers, right? To that not just de-risk some of the, not just de-risk the credit part, but also that ensures better utilization of credit, right? Better utilization of the fund that farmers receive, right? So that's one of the example that in which a lot of work is happening. A lot of us are actually building new insurance products also and then linking it with credit, right? So that farmers will be better served for with that, right? So that's primarily what in my sense what an ideal product would look like, and will definitely reach there in years to come.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure with this panel and the work that the rest of the ecosystem is putting in, I think a lot of advances are being made. With that being said, I think a lot of from my own research and having one-on-one conversations with a lot of people in the ecosystem, what kind of comes through always when we talk about agri credit is that large ticket sizes are still very, very kind of doable and suitable and serviceable from both lenders and platform side. Like you can buy a tractor on credit, you can buy a large agri input order on credit. But what about microcredit? What about sort of the credit that helps revolve that value chain for the farmer or the person in the, let's say, a distributor or a supplier? So Shruti, would you like to kind of take a shot at trying to explain to us what could possibly be a solution to this, and how can we enable more microcredit and sort of this progressive tenure credit for people?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, as you said, right, large ticket item credits is quite easily available. Microcredit is also available, but as I said, it in very with many conditions attached to it. That being said, we do need to open it up wider. I mean, given that India has, well, 86% of farmers in India are smallholding farmers, the need for microcredit is super critical. So, some of the things that, in my opinion, could be done to kind of do this is, of course, the first thing is use technology well, right? Use technology to leverage existing infrastructure, piggyback on that. That'll automatically sort of reduce your cost of acquisition, your cost of service to a large extent. In addition to that, I think, using possibly working with member organizations like FPOs and SHGs, which actually have a lot of backing today, which will instill a lot of confidence in lenders itself. That could be a way, because these FPOs, self-help groups, are already present in rural areas. So you're not going to have to further invest to actually get in there. Another angle, and I think Shyam touched upon this, briefly as well, is how do you manage the loan conditions? In the sense, like, can you tweak those cash flows a little better to allow for longer repayment cycles, bulky repayments at a time, instead of a continuous structured finance that's openly available to many of us. Another thing could be something around, character based. So what if you get a group together, study the crop patterns around that particular region, understand it deeply, take kind of a group yield guarantee around it, right? Let's face it, like all lenders are going to have to get used to not having standard forms of collateral when you're getting into the agri space. But doing something like this could be useful. And lastly, I still do feel that, getting insurance as a backing based on weather conditions, based on pest and disease prediction, could become a really critical part to instill confidence in a lot more lenders to come into small ticket items as well. There's enough and more data available, and that's where I think the Agristack that the government is also working on becomes super critical, in terms of becoming this one common platform that everyone can tap into for information, and use that to actually assess creditworthiness and extend it where viable, right? Like, I don't think at any point any of us are saying that we should go in for defaults, but I think it's about making the access right, using the right kind of data points and a common platform. I think because, and I know Hitesh and Shyam would also have a ton of data points, and, like, let's say all three of us got together and clubbed our data points together, that itself would give a big jump to building this kind of a common data platform. These are a few things that, off the top of my head, come in as a way to enable small ticket items. But yeah, that's it.
Interesting. I think this is a lot of homework for me to read about and explore more, since we keep writing about agri also in detail at FinBox. And very good input, Shruti. Thank you so much for that. And since you mentioned Agristack, I would love to double click on this with Naman specifically, because Naman, I think two of your favorite things have come across in this one answer from Shruti. One is the Agristack piece and how technology can enable a lot of new use cases, and also the partnership piece and bringing the power and multiplying it together to build new products and solve for different issues. How do you see this kind of folding out, especially the Agristack piece?
Yeah, I mean, see, we as a company, right, like at FinBox, we think that there are two primary solutions to every problem in the world, right? Like, one is technology and other is data, right? Like, so we have a specific data science center in Gurgaon where we have 30 plus data scientists working day in and day out and figuring out how we can leverage more data to help our partners do better, right? we've seen that, especially, let's say, not specifically on the agri side, but on the new to credit side, data has had tremendous impact in terms of helping, let's say, previously not so credit favorite demography come into the credit fold and perform really, really well, like surprising even some of the topmost lenders of our country. And we see that, championing such data products again on the agri side, like bulk of our country's population, is going and yielding similar results for our partners as well as lenders. So data very, very critical with Agristack coming in, that data access, and I think that's the general flavor that our country is moving in. That data access is going to be democratized, but ability to make maximum, let's say, insights out of that data is what is going to differentiate all of us, right? And that's where FinBox comes in. Like we really invest heavily into it. We try to make sure that intelligence extracted out of that data or any data source for that matter, right? Be it transactional data that platforms are gathering, be it alternative data that resides on for people's devices, be it banking data through account aggregator framework or through other frameworks that exist. Getting all of this information together and really making it consumable for our partners as well as our lenders has been a key differentiator, and that is why we've been able to even make whatever progress we have made on the agri side, right? Like, so we are very excited about how much we have done and how much more we can achieve together on this. And really excited to play this middleware sort of a role here, enabler through technology and data, and push the pedal on this and continue to work with folks on this forum and beyond, right? Like, to really drive meaningful insights over here. Our mission at FinBox has always been to drive financial inclusion, and we can't achieve that without including agri in a meaningful way as part of that mission. And it really got a shot in the arm with platforms such as Agro, Nurture, DeHaat, to do that meaningfully and do that in a more accelerated manner, both on input as well as on output. So really excited to do this and continue to build on this. So very relevant points put forward, Sruthi, and thank you for using those keywords. Like, those are part of our discussions whenever we have any agri related discussions.
Yes, I think great. Thank you so much for that, Naman. I think I would like to now come to Shyam again and get his thoughts a little bit further. Like, Shyam, let's deep dive on what you said about usage-based credit and talking about what are the ways in which we can make this sustainable across the value chain, and specifically from a lender's perspective, right? Like, they want the comfort that the loan is going to be repaid. They want the comfort that they can possibly do like some sort of an upsell, cross sell, and make more capture more value out of a relationship when we are talking about credit. So how do you see platforms like yours playing a role in this, specifically talking about DeHaat, and what are the ways in which do you think we can innovate upon this?
So our role is throughout this credit chain, right? With our positioning under the regulatory frameworks that we are currently in, right? Of course, we all understand that there are there are ambiguities right now which exist. But even with that, when we partner with any financial institution, and then when we partner with farmers or retailers, right, we have an active role in all three. We have an active role in origination, in disbursement, and in collection, right? So in origination, definitely we do have a lot of data points, right? Um, Definitely we have a lot of data points around the value chain, and we try to give that comfort around our data points, both static as well as dynamic data points, right? So that is a distinct role that we play, right? Considering that all of our credit products are embedded credit products, very much linked to the core business that we operate, right, within that ambit. So that is a critical role that we play, and I think when any financial institution partner with us, and they also expect that with their hearts, that level of ground level intelligence or insights they will get, which will give them the comfort, right? Then on disbursement side, considering that these are embedded products, right? So again, our role becomes very critical, as in how we can ensure that the overall cost of processing remains low, right? And disbursements are happening as per the need of the credit recipient, So that is another role that we have to play, where there is a lot of potential, and we are taking right now, I can say that baby steps towards that, is essentially on the side, on the part of collection, right? And a lot of questions are also related to how we can provide better comfort around collection, right? And we can talk about that, right? So definitely, one leg is at the farmers themselves, with with lot many farmers exceedingly using mobile phones and digital payments and UPI, right? UPI payments. Our role also becomes critical in terms of creating that awareness and at least hand-holding group of farmers during initial phase of their journey, right? Now we all understand. I think one of the earlier question was very good question, that credit, large ticket credit was always available. It is always available. There is a lot of government, there is a lot of interest which is already there. The What we are talking about essentially is around those invisible segment, large segment of farmers, right? Small, marginal, medium farmers, and essentially addressing their small item needs, right? If a farmer has 2 acres of land and need a credit of around 20,000 rupees, right? How that need can be addressed. And with this digital penetration, that is feasible, and that has become feasible in the last, I would say, 2 years, right? Post COVID. But there, creating that awareness, doing last mile interventions, right, with farmers, hand holding them, addressing their concern and all those things, there we play a lot of role, considering our physical presence for advisory and for technical support and farmer engagement, right? The third but the another aspect is, when we say that, okay, can, and a lot of, when you talk to any bank, right, even first question that they will ask is that, can you ensure that the farmers sell their produce to you only, right? So that collection becomes very, so that is definitely a very ideal scenario, right? And we would all like to build towards that. It's good for everyone. It's good for a farmer. It's good for us. It's good for FIs, right? That's where we see, if we move into that direction, right, that seems to be something that will cover a lot of concerns of everyone in the sector, right? So that is a role that we are playing, right, in terms of building towards that, right? uh, yeah, I think another thing that we are definitely playing a role is that, if not at farmers level, right, can we also ensure that the access of relevant services and products are available to them, if we are providing credit to someone somewhere else in the ecosystem, right? As I was earlier saying that, maybe at agri input retailers end, right? So there, if we are providing credit, that also ensures that the benefit is going towards farmers and there is an impact that is getting created. So again, for us, it is imperative to actually do that as well, right? That ensures that for us also there is a business continuity. So that is another role that we are playing in this ecosystem. Often when we talk about credit, we definitely discuss around farmers, but it is equally important to also do this intervention at retailers and maybe at the markets end also, right? Especially in the markets of horticultural crops, right? Say vegetables, right? So small, um, basically suppliers of vegetables, not the suppliers, players who are in the mandi, small vendors of vegetables, right? They also need that daily access to credit, right? Because the material that they are selling is daily material, right? And there is a cash flow that they have to ensure. So there is a lot of scope in terms of building credit products there itself, right? At least on the horticulture products, on the vegetables and fruit side, and that is another role that we can play very actively in the sector. Yeah.
That's that sounds like a lot of hard work, and I'm glad organizations like DeHaat are doing it. And we have also received a very interesting, very related questions to what Shyam raised, actually from our audience. Mr. Ketan Gaikwad is asking if corporates are purchasing B2B supplies from farmers through an aggregator platform, is there a possibility of factoring the receivables of the farmer either directly or at the aggregator platform itself? So, and how does this kind of look like? So, Hitesh, I think would you be open to taking this?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, pretty point on question. I mean, that is a problem statement which remains at large to a lot of farmers across the country, and probably to different segments of crops that they are working with. In fact, even at AgroStar, we do a large output business, and there this is a problem statement which always remains there, wherein farmer selling in a mandi versus farmer selling it to corporates versus farmer selling it to platforms like us. There is different expectations set by everyone in the ecosystem there. Factoring for farmers directly is something which is not possible at the moment. However, probably for a mid-size or a large size aggregator who's facilitating the overall trade or transaction, a lot of solutions have been built there. So that is a scope. That is a place wherein a lot of financial institutions, a lot of NBFCs, and probably a set of banks are already participating. They are already working with a set of aggregators, majorly into staples, but this has a lot of potential towards horticulture too.
Got it. Yes. I think I would love to get Shruti's perspective on this also. Shruti, specifically, if we let's say we imagine an ideal scenario of a factor-based market linkage for farmers, right, for credit. What does that look like, and what will it take for us in terms of technology or business perspective to get us there?
Yeah, so I think just Hitesh managed to outline quite a bit of it, right? I think there's just one more part to add there, which becomes critical, is the whole concept of warehouse receipts. I think there's been a lot of focus around that in the recent past, even from a central bank perspective. Entities like NCDEX and NERL are also progressing actively on it. In fact, one of the subsidiaries, NERL, actually has something called a ENWR, which is an electronic negotiable warehouse receipt, right? Which is picking up pace, quite quickly as well, where we are able to help farmers ensure that they don't have to actually sell their products at whatever price is available. They're allowed to store, get a line of credit against that. And, the lines are covered as much as like 80% of the value of the commodity. So it's, taking away from what Shyam said, it gets very close to kind of selling your product, but using it as collateral. On that note, while it's not in India currently, but I think the Brazilian markets actually work on this kind of almost a barter system, which is very interesting to understand when we were studying that angle, where in order to buy inputs, the farmer actually pledges their output against, right? And they're doing this on an 18-month ahead timeline, meaning inputs for the end of next year, or the Kharif season of 2024. They're pledging output now. And when we interviewed some farmers there, of course, they're much larger farmers, I understand. That being said, there's, I think with the right technology solutions, the right regulation coming in as well, like there's nothing that would not stop us from getting there. And, Shyam, to your point, getting a lot closer to actually selling market linkage and building that as a part of the credit offering, because, that's the end game anyway. That's where the rubber hits the road for farmers. So I think the more we focus on getting the right kind of predictions into what those yields can, and getting the right systems and tools in place for that, it'll actually help us build this and build a lot more security and confidence in getting this off the ground.
I think that's a very comprehensive answer to my question between you two, and clearly there's a lot for me to learn in this space and explore with the team. And with that, I would actually like to just double click on this piece about seasonality with each of you, and maybe have 30 seconds or 1 minute of your time to just kind of talk a little bit about the seasonality of it. And we speak there are rigid seasons that follow, and the credit cycle kind of doesn't naturally align well to them. And what are the thoughts and ideas on which in which we can take care of that part actually? So could we start with you, Shyam?
Okay, so and definitely seasonality is one of the biggest factors affecting agri, right, and hence farmers. how we can take care of that? We also have to understand that credit requirements for different seasons are very different, right? Say a farmer and and many farmers do not just grow 2 or 3 crops as per season, right? They might be growing 8-10 different crops, right? They might be doing within the same season. Farmers might be growing wheat as well as maize and maybe some potato also, right? On different, their different lands, right? And they might be doing all of these for their commercial purpose also, right? So credit requirements for different products are different, for different crops are different, right? And hence, and then it works in that cycle, right? So someone using credit for wheat, right, might be able to sell wheat in April. How it is working in real life, right? Might be selling those produce in April, May, or March, April, and then might be needing further credit, right, or no more credit for their upcoming, say, paddy season, right? So seasonality has a definite role to play. Hence, credit, if we are not talking about for core agricultural requirements, for say working capital, those products tend to be smaller products of 3 to 6 month products, right? Might be 3 months income linked for basically horticultural crops, and 6 months for grains, or 4 or 5 months for grains, basically, right, or staple crops. So those tend to be smaller ticket item crops, right? I guess BNPL kind of concept has actually given a lot of new thought processes to all of us on how to build these products, right? Because that's very much linked with how the actual use of that can be, right? So that, then there are other requirements which are not so seasonal, right? So something like, say, even for working capital, so something around, say, cattle feed, right? So for cattle feed, for their livestock, livestock cattle feed requirements are there throughout the year, right? There will be seasons where the requirements might be 50% higher than the lower seasons, but the requirements are there for the entire season, right? So the products are also getting built to cover that aspect, right, where farmers will have regular access to the credit, and the same can be linked with their income, which is essentially selling of milk and other products. So that part is there. Seasonality. So these are the different ways to cover seasonality.
Got it. Hitesh, Shruti, would you like to add anything on this?
So, Shyam has covered this broadly. However, like seasonality do have a very strong play in agri domain for sure, and it has a different play for different stakeholders. For example, seasonality affects a farmer differently versus a seasonality affects a agri input retailer differently. There would be a sudden spike. He'll have to like arrange inputs. He'll have to buy inputs a lot prior to the season, and that is where you'll see the spike in the demand that a particular retailer needs. Vis-a-vis, farmer would have a staggered or a distributed demand of all those agri inputs throughout the season. Uh, with time and with the evolvence of multiple credit products which have gone downstream over last 3, 4, 5 years, all these things are getting adapted now. So probably 4 or 5 year before, when we used to speak with lenders or FIs, things were way different. Now everyone is ready to listen. They have a view on it. They understand how exactly this is performing. Agri as a space, or agri tech as a space, has already been validated with a large set of startups coming in. So building those sort of products, it is possible now. Players, the ecosystem partners, among like us and a lot of other partners, they have been constantly working towards understanding the need, understanding the right space wherein what kind of solutions would work, and trying to build those solutions with FIs. So yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Hitesh. I think with that we have mostly reached the end of our conversation, and I would like just come to you guys for your final thoughts. And before that, I would just like to call out this old RBI paper that I found actually while researching this, and it had this very interesting credit challenges landscape picture, and it kind of has this very creatively thought acronym farmer. And what it talks about actually is how do you solve credit. It talks about farmer in terms of F for finance, A for you do funding of allied activities, R for risk mitigation, you do risk mitigation across price, production, and personal risks. M is marketing access. E is you extend the research and give farmer advisory. And the R, which is the most important piece, I feel, is like, make other resources available except just credit. Like credit will not move the needle unless there is availability of timely resources such as water, seed, and fertilizers that actually generate the income for the farmers. So I guess yes, while credit is the grease that moves the wheels together, we need to kind of build like a more holistic understanding of this ecosystem. And as we go forward, I'm sure we will keep coming back to you guys to kind of help us get there. And with that, I think we can wrap it up. I would love for each of you to give us any final thoughts, any final takeaways for the audience, if any. We'll again start with Sham.
So, no, thanks for this opportunity. I think it's very good to see. Actually, as I said, it's very good to see so many things happening in this sector, right? With a lot of fintech players now getting very interested in this sector. This is a sector which is very quickly getting innovated, right? So we are all very excited, very pumped up to see things happening here, and very much I would say right now we should all keep a tab on what all new things are happening, right? How our different products are getting received in this market, right? So yeah, with that, thank you so much. I think thank you, thanks FinBox.
Thank you so much, Sham. And Shruti?
Yeah, before we get to the end, I just wanted to add maybe Mayank, maybe there's one more thing that can get added to the farmer acronym, right? Which is probably around the whole sustainability angle. Because now, as farmers start adopting regenerative practice and sustainable practices, um, it's of course better source of income and additional source of income. How it's additional is also through getting these practices and implementing them, right? There are carbon credits which are generated, and that's actually, a part of the sale of carbon credits always goes to the farmer, a large chunk. So that's also going to help them in this sort of strive towards getting better yield, better income, building resilience overall. I know I we are very close to this space at Nurture Farm, where the first company here to have forward sold generated and forward sold carbon credits, and we can see the benefit coming into farmers. Like, we have visited the fields, have photographs of fields where we've implemented the practice, and it's actually visible. For many of us who aren't from the ag space, it was new to actually see something drastic like this that happens in 4 months with a very simple shift. So I think keeping that in mind, along with everything else that all of us are working together in terms of bringing together data and technology, in terms of building better solutions for the ag space, of which fintech is going to play a really active role. That's going to be really critical. So look forward to that, and thanks so much, Naman, Mayank, and FinBox for putting this together.
Thank you so much for coming on board, Shruti, and it's been really great to see you and hear you. Hitesh.
Sure, yeah. So, first of all, thank you for having this event. It was very insightful. I mean, there are a lot of things that everyone is doing. Coming together on a table and talking about it is a totally different experience altogether. Uh, uh, Apart from it, I would love to say, we are at a very prime and a very ripe spot right now. So a lot of agri-tech player probably in last 5-10 years have built a lot of things, struggled, tried building the base and infrastructure there, and we are at a spot when we can build it from there. So from multiple ecosystem players building a lot of solutions, from multiple ecosystem players building a lot of strength, towards the financial inclusions, towards probably uh, helping each agri ecosystem player get the kind of solutions that they should have got way earlier. I guess in that sense, I would say it's a good time, it's a right time. Uh, just to sort of, just for sharing a small example, uh, though a lot of such programs are going on right now, I would love to see a day wherein, so what happens today is a farmer can go to a nearby taluka or nearby area, go to an electronic shop, buy a 60-inch TV, get a Bajaj Finserv ka funding then and there directly, and he'll get it. However, the same thing is not possible for a farmer to go to an agri input shop and do it there. Though the value of that agri input is way more higher than the TV that he buys from a Bajaj Finserv card. So someday, probably down the line, not sure like amount of time we will take, but we would like to build those sort of products. We would like to see those kind of convenience available to farmers on the ground. And with that, like thank you so much, Mayank, Naman, FinBox for setting this up. Sruthi, Shyam for joining.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those thoughts, Hitesh. I think it's very clear we need to get agri credit on par with pizza delivery if we have to move forward. Naman, would you like to have some closing thoughts? Would you like to summarize this whole discussion?
Yeah, summarizing this would be a tough task. There's so many insights, like really informative session, guys. So thank you so much. I mean, one of the pleasures of being in this position these days is ability for us to learn from all of our partners, and I think this was all brought to fore in this discussion. So really grateful to be a part of this, and thank you so much for participating. On the agri side, we are ourselves very excited. I think in life we firmly believe that everything has a rite of passage, right? And all of your platforms, like we talked about how both agri, nurture farm, as well as AgroStar are like these are all 10-year-old companies, right? Like it takes that amount of time for an ecosystem to change, and it is at this juncture that we feel that that agri credit is going to be a mainstay thanks to platforms like yourself. We feel a very different change in dynamics, right? Like previously, it would be platforms and FinBox talking to lenders, convincing them about credit programs to be run and executed. Now it's the other way around. Like it's lenders creating a beeline with platforms and trying to work with as many platforms as possible to try and engage here. And engagement is on a very meaningful level. Like platforms are being heard, farmers are being heard, and lenders are listening and trying to create the right kind of structures to support this ecosystem. So very excited, given that we tend to play a role of a let's say partner, where we understand from a platform perspective you can't really satiate all of your credit product needs with one partner or one lender, right? Like, and that is where I think we feel that we are able to create a significant impact for our partners, where we bring in the ability to work with almost all of the lenders together to run all credit products, cover all geographical touch points, cover complete value chain by through one partnership via us. So really excited about what we can do here, and really looking forward to championing this further with each of you and the overall ecosystem. Thank you so much for everybody who joined, and thank you Mayank team for putting this together. Thanks Hitesh for joining, Shruti, Shyam, nice to be connected. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Fun
Thank you,
one.
Naman. Thank you all the panelists for joining us. It's been really great. A lot of learning for especially at least me. And thank you to all the people who tuned in. Please keep following FinBox and we'll bring you more episodes in the future as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks guys. Have a good day.